If I told you that much of the tiredness you feel when you wake up, the lack of energy in the middle of the day, and even that silent feeling that things aren't like they used to be has almost nothing to do with your age, but with what you put or don't put on your plate every day? And if I told you that there are three simple, accessible fruits available at any Brazilian market that can reignite your energy, improve your performance, and restore your vitality from the inside out, without relying on medications, without miracle formulas, and without waiting months for results. Before dismissing this as just another exaggerated promise, stick with me until the end, because what you're about to hear could completely change the way you age. I'm Dr. Carlos Batista, and over decades of monitoring men's health, I've seen a pattern repeat too many times to be a coincidence. Strong, responsible men who have supported families, businesses, and important decisions, but who at some point started accepting the idea that decline was inevitable. They come into the office saying they're more tired, less motivated, less confident, and almost always finish with the same resigned phrase: "It must be age, doctor." But in most cases, it's not. What happens after 60 isn't an abrupt drop. The body doesn't break all at once. It slows down silently. Cellular energy production decreases, circulation becomes less efficient, hormones start to fluctuate, and all of this creates a diffuse feeling of lost vitality. The problem is that while this is happening, many men continue eating as if they were 30, or worse, as if food were just something to kill hunger, not to sustain the body's functioning. There's an old belief that fruits are just a light, almost decorative complement in a man's diet. Meat is strength, coffee is energy, supplements are the solution. But this logic completely ignores the biology of aging, because as the years pass, the body needs less artificial stimulation and more intelligent nutrition. It needs compounds that protect blood vessels, good fats that sustain hormone production, and minerals that support energy generation in the cells. Fruit number 1 for stable energy. You might never have stopped to think about this, but hidden on supermarket shelves are fruits capable of improving circulation, supporting prostate health, promoting hormonal balance, and fueling your cells with clean energy. 3 fruits in particular form an almost perfect trio for men over 60. 1 red, 1 green, and 1 yellow. Individually, they're already powerful, but together they create an effect that goes far beyond the sum of their parts. Before revealing how this works, I need to ask you an honest question. When was the last time you felt constant energy throughout the day without relying on coffee or sugar? When was the last time you woke up with real motivation, not just obligation? If it's been a while, maybe the problem isn't in your body, but in the fuel you've been giving it. Let's start with the first fruit, and it usually surprises almost everyone. It's not exotic, not a passing fad, doesn't appear in flashy campaigns, but it carries centuries of association with male vitality, and today has solid scientific backing. I'm talking about the pomegranate. I'll never forget Jorge's case. 72 years old, retired, hunched posture, tired eyes. He wasn't just complaining about fatigue, he was complaining about no longer recognizing himself. His energy was low, his confidence had diminished, and intimacy seemed like a thing of the past. The curious thing is that his exams were largely within normal ranges for his age, but there was one detail that stood out: subtle signs of vascular compromise. As the years go by, arteries lose elasticity. The inner lining of the vessels, called the endothelium, starts to function less efficiently. This means blood doesn't circulate with the same ease. And when blood doesn't circulate well, the impact is widespread. Energy drops, endurance decreases, sexual performance suffers, and even mental clarity can be affected. The body enters economy mode. This is exactly where the pomegranate comes in. Rich in polyphenols and potent antioxidants, it helps protect the vascular endothelium and stimulate the production of nitric oxide, an essential molecule for blood vessel dilation. Fruit number 2 for brain and concentration. Without sufficient nitric oxide, vessels become more rigid and narrow. With it, flow improves. And when flow improves, tissues receive more oxygen and nutrients. The most interesting part is that this doesn't just happen in theory. Studies show that regular consumption of pomegranate juice can improve cardiovascular health markers in just a few weeks. Jorge started consuming a small glass of natural, unsweetened pomegranate juice every morning. Nothing else was changed at that moment. 2 weeks later, he came back different. Not because someone promised a miracle, but because his body responded. He reported more willingness to walk, less heaviness in his legs, and a subtle but noticeable improvement in sexual vitality. Pomegranate doesn't work like a stimulant. It doesn't create an artificial energy peak. It restores function, reduces inflammation, combats oxidative stress, and provides indirect support to the prostate, something crucial for men over 60. Less inflammation means less discomfort, fewer nighttime trips to the bathroom, and better sleep quality. And when sleep improves, the rest of the body follows. You might be thinking this seems too simple, and it's precisely that simplicity that makes many ignore it. But the human body evolved to respond to foods rich in natural bioactive compounds. Pomegranate doesn't replace anything. It gives back to the body tools that have been lost over time. But circulation alone doesn't sustain complete vitality. You can have healthier vessels, but if the hormonal environment is compromised, the feeling of energy will remain limited. And this is where the second fruit comes in, one of the most unfairly maligned in modern nutrition, the avocado. For years, avocado was accused of being too fatty. Many men started avoiding it for fear of gaining weight or raising cholesterol. But this view ignores a fundamental detail. Not all fats are the same. And after 60, the body needs good fats to produce hormones efficiently. I remember Henrique, 68 years old, retired, disciplined, but discouraged. He described something I hear frequently. I don't feel the same spark anymore. It wasn't just about sexual performance, it was about initiative, focus, drive. Exams showed testosterone levels within the lower normal limit, not low enough for immediate hormone replacement, but enough to cause symptoms. Testosterone doesn't just influence libido. It affects muscle mass, bone density, mental clarity, motivation, and even self-confidence. And the production of this hormone depends, among other factors, on the availability of adequate fats in the diet. Avocado is rich in monounsaturated fats, which serve as raw material for hormone synthesis. It also provides magnesium, zinc, and vitamin B6, nutrients important for endocrine balance. Fruit number 3 for physical endurance. Henrique started with something simple, half an avocado a day included in a main meal. In a few weeks, he reported more mood stability and better physical motivation. It wasn't an instant transformation, but it was consistent. The internal environment started to change, and when the environment changes, the body does what it knows how to do. Avocado also helps reduce cortisol, the stress hormone, which, when chronically elevated, can suppress testosterone. In other words, it not only provides raw material for hormone production, but also helps protect what's already being produced. It's silent but strategic work. In Brazil, we have an advantage. Avocado is accessible, available most of the year, and versatile. It can be eaten with eggs at breakfast, in salads at lunch, or even plain in moderation. The exact form isn't important. Consistency is. Now imagine this scenario. Circulation improved by pomegranate, hormonal environment supported by avocado. It seems sufficient, but something essential is still missing. Because even with healthier vessels and more balanced hormones, if the cells don't have available energy, the body will continue functioning below potential. And this is where the third fruit comes in. A fruit so common it's often overlooked, present in practically every Brazilian home, the banana. Impact on vascular health. I worked with a man named Walter, 73 years old, former school director. He wasn't depressed, he was exhausted. He woke up tired, dragged through the day, felt like his body no longer kept up with his mind. When I asked about breakfast, he admitted he often just had coffee and left the house. The problem is that after 60, the body doesn't wake up on its own. It needs metabolic support early on. Banana provides exactly that, rich in potassium, magnesium, and B vitamins. It contributes to muscle function, electrolyte balance, and cellular energy production. Unlike refined sugar, which causes sharp peaks and crashes, banana offers more stable energy. It also contains tryptophan, a precursor to serotonin, the neurotransmitter associated with well-being. This means it not only fuels the body, but also supports emotional balance. Walter started including a banana in the morning. Within a few days, he reported fewer energy dips mid-morning. In a few weeks, he said he felt more balanced, not euphoric, but stable. And stability is the key word after 60. The body doesn't need extremes. It needs consistency. Banana helps create that energy base on which circulation and hormones can act more efficiently. Now comes the most interesting part. Individually, pomegranate, avocado, and banana already offer significant benefits. But when they become part of your routine together, the effect stops being just additive and becomes synergistic. Efficient circulation improves nutrient delivery. A balanced hormonal environment optimizes the use of those nutrients. Adequate cellular energy sustains the functioning of the entire system. It's like adjusting 3 misaligned gears. When they start turning in harmony again, the result isn't just more energy. It's more presence, more motivation, more vitality. And if you think this is just theory, in the next moment I'll show you exactly what starts to happen in the first weeks when these 3 fruits stop being a detail and become a strategy. Because the transformation isn't imaginary. It follows a clear pattern, and understanding that pattern might be what's missing for you to decide to start. The role of vitamins and minerals. Because when these 3 fruits stop being an occasional detail and become part of your daily routine, something starts reorganizing silently inside your body. It's not an explosion of energy overnight. It's not that artificial feeling from a stimulant. It's more subtle, but also deeper. First, you notice you're not as tired when you wake up. Then you realize mid-afternoon isn't that desert of motivation anymore. And without realizing it, you start living the day with less effort. The pomegranate continues doing its behind-the-scenes work, protecting blood vessels, promoting nitric oxide production, and allowing blood to circulate more efficiently. And when circulation improves, it's not just the heart that thanks you. The brain gets more oxygen. Muscles respond better to movement. The pelvic region, so sensitive to blood flow, starts reacting more predictably. And that predictability restores something many men over 60 feel they've lost: confidence. Because it's not just about physical energy, it's about knowing your body responds when you need it. And when that response starts coming back, even gradually, your posture changes, your walk changes, your gaze changes. And the most curious thing is that all this starts with something apparently simple, like a glass of natural pomegranate juice in the morning. But pomegranate alone wouldn't sustain this transformation if the hormonal environment remained unfavorable. That's where avocado maintains the balance. The monounsaturated fats in it provide essential raw material for hormone synthesis. And this is crucial because testosterone isn't just a sexual hormone, it's a vitality hormone. When its levels are adequate, even within the natural range for your age, a man tends to feel more muscle firmness, more mental clarity, and more initiative. And here's something interesting. When testosterone finds a less inflamed and less stressed environment, it can perform its role better. Avocado helps reduce the impact of chronically elevated cortisol, that stress hormone that drains energy and blocks hormone production. So, by including half an avocado a day in your diet, you're not just ingesting good fat, you're signaling to your body that it can leave the constant alert state. When the body leaves that alert state, sleep improves. And when sleep improves, nighttime hormone production stabilizes. And when hormones stabilize, daytime energy follows. See how one thing leads to another? Nothing here is isolated. The body functions as an integrated system, and small daily decisions can reprogram that system. Errors in consumption. Now imagine this scenario added to the effect of banana in the morning. Banana offers clean, stable energy right at the start of the day. It provides potassium for cardiovascular balance, magnesium for muscle function, and B vitamins for energy metabolism. Instead of relying solely on coffee, which artificially stimulates the nervous system, you start the day with real metabolic support. And what happens when you start the day without going into energy deficit? You don't need to compensate with sugar. You don't resort to ultra-processed snacks mid-morning. Appetite regulates better, mood stabilizes, and the body stops living in a metabolic roller coaster. This stability reduces systemic inflammation, and less inflammation means better vascular and hormonal function. This is where many men start noticing something they didn't expect. Between the second and third week of consistency, motivation to move increases. Walks that used to feel heavy become lighter. Small efforts require less recovery. And this motivation creates a positive cycle because by moving more, you stimulate circulation even further. And by stimulating circulation, you enhance the pomegranate's effect. Over time, another sign starts to emerge: more frequent or consistent morning erections. This doesn't happen by magic. It's a reflection of improved vascular health and hormonal balance. And this sign is important because it indicates the neurovascular system is functioning better. Many men report this return as an emotional turning point, not just for the function itself, but for what it symbolizes. Because when the body starts responding again, the mind changes too. The internal narrative shifts from "I'm aging poorly" to "there's still vitality here." And that narrative change reduces anxiety. And when anxiety decreases, the parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for relaxation and healthy sexual response, gains space to act. Best time to consume. You might be thinking all this depends on rigorous discipline or a complicated routine, but the truth is it doesn't. It depends on simple consistency. A glass of pomegranate juice in the morning or some fresh seeds in your food. Half an avocado spread throughout the day. A banana as an energy base early on. Nothing extreme, nothing inaccessible, just daily repetition. Another change many report is improved concentration. This happens because more efficient cerebral circulation and stable blood glucose favor cognitive function. The feeling of a slow mind or difficulty focusing can gradually decrease, and when the mind keeps up with the body, self-confidence strengthens. Now, it's important to make something clear. These fruits don't replace medical treatment when necessary, don't replace monitoring for chronic diseases, but they work as a foundation. And a solid foundation supports any other intervention much more effectively. A well-nourished body responds better to exercise, therapies, and even medications when indicated. There's also the emotional impact of making a conscious choice. When you decide to include strategic foods in your routine, you send a message to yourself: I still care about myself. And that's not a detail. Self-care is a powerful psychological factor. It influences posture, decisions, and behavior. A man who takes care of himself tends to move more, sleep better, and seek other improvements. When to expect results. Between the third and fourth week, many report improved mood and greater stress tolerance. This happens because adequate nutrients favor neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. Banana contributes tryptophan. Avocado provides vitamins essential to the nervous system. Pomegranate reduces oxidative stress, which affects brain function. Together, they create a more balanced mental environment. Conclusion and recommendations.